Keeping It Real is an interactive radio program heard only on Nice Radio. Join your host, Joel Abraham, every Friday as we discuss important issues affecting our society from 8 to 10:30 p.m. For persons living outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can still listen to us on Nice Radio's website, www.niceradio.info, or you can email us at bdsnice@gmail.com, or simply give us a call at 784-456-5967. Remember, it's Keeping It Real, the interactive talk show program heard each and every Friday only on Nice Radio.
Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brayton Horn. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brayton Horn will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brayton Horn at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society needs a spectacle. It might help us to see some evil. This society needs a spectacle.
Every year we betting, drinking and paranging to celebrate Christmas Day. We idolizing Santa, but no time for the Savior. This is not the way I say. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. Came down here to save us from wickedness and chaos. Put Jesus in your Christmas this year. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. Came down here to save us from wickedness and chaos. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. We done connive, fornicate and blaspheme. Come the month of December, you come up with your quattro and parancalypso. You shake up your latido. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. He came down here to save us from wickedness and chaos. Put Jesus in your Christmas this year. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. He came down here to save us from wickedness and chaos. Put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas, put Jesus in your Christmas this year. Wash away our sins. Come, let us all give praise for His glorious ways. Open up and let Him in. Put Jesus in your Christmas. Put Jesus in your Christmas. Put Jesus in your Christmas this year. He came down here to save us from wickedness and chaos. Put Jesus in your Christmas this year.
Good night. It's Friday. the 22nd of November, the the second to last Friday in the month, the 11th month. So as you can see, we're very close to Christmas. But we're not going to be talking about Christmas tonight. Keeping it real is on the air. And we do keep it real. So wherever you may be, every crab hole, foxhole, dog hole, every nook and cranny, wherever medium you may be using, or if you are submerged or in outer space, keeping it real is on the air. And as the saying goes, there's never ever a dull moment in St. Vincent and Grenadines. So exhale all the bad air, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, and whatever bad enzyme that you have blocking up your system, and take a long, deep inhalation of oxygen so you'll be refreshed, clear-minded, and prepared to be involved in this program. Remember, all we ask of you is keep it clean when we open the line. No slandering, no libeling, no scaremongering, no unclean language or ridiculing of others. Just keeping it clean and clear and keeping it real. Keeping it real is on the air. Father Abraham, what are we doing with all this rain, boy? We say better for father, the father to rain than man. Because when man rain, it's too much dangerous for you fellow human being. I don't know if you have been traveling to the country. I have been traveling and I have seen a lot of landslides. And I know that it would happen. Part of it is the vegetation. Part of it is our ignorance. With this thing gonna be starting soon, say we cleaning the road for creating employment and removing the natural vegetation that should remain to help to stabilize the bankside. So when the wild grass take over now, it's no longer the bankside is no longer stable, and it doesn't have roots that would hold and bind the soil. So, and then also in some area it make way for the elephant grass to take over, and the elephant grass are top heavy. So when the roots can't hold anything, how they come soggy from holding all the moisture, they just topple and break the banks, and then we have the bank eroding back. Also, too, in many areas we have the soil of what you call the abu, and that also is where you have a lot of erosion and slippage will be taking place because why? The soil become cloggy. You cannot get percolation of your water no further in, so therefore it forms like a sliding plate, and that is what happened, especially in the area of the Rocky there, where that house wash over the bank side there. Yeah, you need to remove the heavy grasses, but that is not a priority. And we don't have much talking about the environment, and these grass also are aided and abetted by the fires because these are areas where they are prone to fire, and the elephant grass they use fire to try to destroy it, while they only make it stronger. It has a weaker root system, but they go faster. And we don't have the amount of animal that we used to have before, where people used to go and cut them for the animal. Then also cutting them also help to spread them because every node is like a node of sugar cane. And once you get in an area where you could get moisture, they would just bust up into plants, and there and then they would start growing. So it's all sort of things that we have impacting on us environmentally, but we don't have a proper environmental program on the air to educate and enlighten people as to how to go about in addressing these things that are around us. I saw also on the leeward side a lot of bankside Belials and Willan Hilly and all those things, a lot of slippage. Also on the road to Table Rock in Beaumont, they have to build a retaining wall. That's the only thing that can work there right now to retain and stabilize the road. Otherwise, big vehicle like those big vans that goes into take tourists into the Vermont Nature Trail might find it difficult in going there because of the narrowing of the road. So this is something that they have to work fast on, because here we now begin the tourist season, and a lot of tourists will be going to Vermont Nature Trail, because that is one of the main site that they goes to. So I'm putting out a plug for the repair of that. Also, Father Hiriam, when I look, I feel it for farmers. Feel it very, very much for farmers, because of the weather that we're having right now. A lot of um, bypass road and feeder roads and tracks and these things that our farmers have to cross streams and rivers to get to their lands. It's sort of far difficult for them. And I'm hoping that something could be worked out in assisting the farmers to so that they could get access to their land. I've been talking the whole time about access and access. We have too much lands right now that are laying idle because of lack of access. Accessibility is one of the major problems that are facing farmers. Yes, they may have the land, they may have the will, they may not have the manpower, but they have the will whereby they could go and cut out an area bit by bit if they get access. But then here is a problem of dealing with the accessibility to these things. So I putting it out that the extension service along with the policymakers, the ministers and all those could work out something to clear these areas so that the farmers could get access and they could make steps and put up some natural rail from bamboo and so on to assist to hold on some of these steep areas that they have to go up and make waterways so that the water would show off on the tracks and not on the tracks to make it easy underfoot for these, especially ladies. So, and I also hearing that they will be giving the farmers money now and not voucher anymore. So if that is true, and I think it should start from in the month, Father Abraham. So maybe you may be in for a piece also to as a farmer. I'm a farmer, but I only real animals. I don't deal with planting of the ground provision and so on. And I may plant one or two trees, but when my trees is more for the period lasting because I had coconut tree when they had some bunches of coconut when you next ever pass all gone. But that's just how it goes. Father I passed your tongue today, and I couldn't believe it's Friday to the weekend. I couldn't believe it's Black Friday or the one that we can because the Black Friday for America is next week Friday, the 29th. But I think we just have one here earlier, quotes at it, and place was scanty. And I'm wondering why. Because the weather wasn't as terrible as earlier in the week and so. But for some reason or the other, tongue look just like an ordinary it reminds me of the Wednesdays of the weeks when I'm gone by. Where hardly any business seems to be taking place. And I was sort of surprised. Seeing that it is Friday coming into the weekend. And the regular vendors were there, yeah. But then the goonies were there in a large numbers today. First for the longest while. And they was really at it in trying to chase the vendors of them off the sidewalk and off the street and into the market. Well, the vendors were complaining that they're in the market and still nobody coming. And the only time they make a dollar is when evening time come and they take one or two things in their hand and they come out on the street. So I don't know. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks earlier, that what I've seen taking place is whereby a lot of vehicles and makeshift portable well they would have to be vehicles too on the street plying the trade of what once used to be where people would set up the regular table stall and umbrella. It's now taken over by mobile thing, whether it be a cart or a trolley or something mobile enough so that when whoever they come, they either push them away or they jump inside them and drive and move. So people are getting much more resourceful in trying to work out a living. And I think if Tongue Board and the management is really analyzing what is taking place, they would realize that it's time that they sit down and discuss a proper way forward for vending overall. Because it seems what they're gonna do is just futility. They will be spending money for say for security, and the buck that they're spending cannot ox out what the result that they want. And it's bringing more enmity between civilian, security, and tongue board management on a whole. And I think we need to be discussing the issue in a proper way, educating, involving, and see how best that you can strategize that things could work out far better than what is happening right now. Also, too far is education-wise. It seems like we say we have an education revolution, but for my analysis, all we try to put in place is to build structure and get children into school. But the formal aspect of education needs serious look into. And we are bragging about technology and tablets and this sort of thing, and these gadgets put into the hands of little children, but not with no proper policy or guidance in place overall. And it's like putting a match in a little child hand. They would check it and then next thing they crack and then it's a fire. Because right now it's acting as a distraction. Educational wise, they are not focusing on the schoolwork or whatever. And most of the time, sometimes some of the homes, they don't have access to the internet and these sort of things. So it ends up being used for the wrong purpose. And yes, I am for technology, but at the same time, we need to have the right structure in place and ensure that you have persons trained to maintain these gadgets, because ever so often they may go bad and then the child is at a loss and they are so expensive that the average person can't afford to go and replace one just that way. Because I'm certain if we carry out an analysis and auditing of those that have thing, so sure maybe we might give account to about a third or almost 50% of these gadgets. Whether we got them free or not, it has a value. It has a value. And these are some of the things that we need to get across when we are donating things or giving things. Not give it because we want to attract vote and figure that we look good. And it's not about a look good thing. It's about ensuring it for the purpose of what you want to get out of it. Educating, enlightening, informing, changing and training the mind of the young ones to deal with technology in terms of development. And I'm not sure that coming from Ministry of Education, I'm not sure it's coming from the ministry who is responsible for technology and those sort of things. And it's just like we are going further back instead of progressing forward. When I compare what is happening here with us and what is happening in other countries. And also, while I'm on that, I think Australia gonna be passing a law as to ban the use of YouTube and those sort of things from children, because they say it's impacting on their intelligence. It's also making them go into area that the mind cannot not develop enough to make a difference. It's also opening them up for pervertness and all sort of things. And they may go on a wrong system and get somebody communicating with. And you have cyberbullying and all that. So Australia government gonna be passing a law to protect the use of the internet and YouTube and so on, with when it comes to minors, they say from 16 years and under. I think it is something worthwhile for us to study and look at and see how best we could also put measures like that in place, because ever so often you have these predators out there hiding behind some pretty fancy cartoon or whatever. Next thing you press and then you open up to a far different world of things. And if you're not there to correct it, which you don't know, young 6, 7 year old watching blues and those sort of things. We don't want that happening. And finally, Father Abraham, NIS. Couple people meet me and asking me, when is NIS gonna increase their allowances? I said, increase your allowances. They said, yes. And a lady say, look at it this way. If I go and I borrow, I buy something for higher purchase, right? I have to pay 15 or 20%, okay, over a period of time. But she said it is not increasing, but it remains the same. She said, here now, my money, where I already contribute towards my pension, now I have to wait until I'm 65. I am 60 now. Before the changes, they were saying that I will lose 6%. Right? She said, now I am losing 8%. Right? But I'm getting nothing. She also mentioned that Heritage, she put in some money into the bank and she will get 2% interest per annum. Right? But in the case of the NS, they are taking 8%. And I get the gist of what she was really talking about. And she asked me further if since the NS has been put in place, if they have ever had an increase in terms of contribution to the pensioners. I said I can't recall of any increase to the pensioners. I know for the non-contributory persons, their own will increase, and that is very much unfair because they never contributed, but they were getting 200 and then it moved from 200 to 250 or 275. But you who contributed to make sure that the money was there, if you start off at 50 cents, 20 years young, you're still getting 50 cents. And this is thing that we need to look into. There was also another person asked me the question if I knew about some special funds that were put aside because they couldn't find the necessary persons who this money belongs to. And NIS has not put in the necessary thing to do the necessary research to verify, because I knew that for a fact where one person had 3 different names and 3 different cards for NIS. And at the end of the day, they end up getting nothing. And there's many persons, especially those who used to work in agriculture long ago, those who used to work in the road and all that, because many a time they don't have a proper NIS numbers. They quickly get a number and they just write it down before it has been regularized now. So I need probably in the vicinity about $10-15 million. That was the other reserve. So they asked me if I know what has become of the money. I said I can't because I don't work with NIS and I'm not on the board. And when I mentioned about the board, they also say that this present regime has messed up the coalition of the board, because you have people on the board who are supposed to be representing different factors, and the factors who they are representing never selected or elected them. They were just put on the board there to represent these people without these people having a say. And that is going against the rules of the NIS. So I tell them I will try to look in and find out more about these matters. But in the meantime, I just like them seeking for the necessary answer and redress for a number of things that has been taking place. And then the last one that they're asking about is that if we ever think that we will get back with money that was invested in the Holiday Inn that has just recently opened, I said that is a low blow, plus it is above my pay grade, so I can't answer that. So
no matter where you are in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, your radio is Nice Radio. 101.3, 96.7, 90.3 FM.
Keeping It Real is an interactive radio program heard only on Nice Radio. Join your host, Joel Abraham, every Friday as we discuss important issues affecting our society from 8 to 10:30 p.m. For persons living outside of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, you can still listen to us on Nice Radio's website, www.niceradio.info, or you can email us at bdsnice@gmail.com, or simply give us a call at 784-456-5967. Remember, it's Keeping It Real, the interactive talk show program heard each and every Friday only on Nice Radio.
Tune into Nice Radio every Saturday at 7:30 a.m. for A View from the Outside, hosted by Brayton Horn. A View from the Outside takes a look at key issues affecting St. Vincent and the Grenadines and gives a global perspective on how these issues are viewed. Host Brayton Horn will examine a variety of topics to enlighten, stimulate debate, and explore solutions. Hear the facts, hear the real-life stories, hear A View from the Outside. Join Brayton Horn at 7:30 a.m. every Saturday on Nice Radio for A View from the Outside.
This society need a spectacle. It might help us to see some evil. This society need a spectacle.
Vincy Christmas, sweet boy. The Christmas shopping, the decorating, the serenading, the caroling, the night morning. Christmas sweet, sweet. Come on, let me go, boy. Christmas in St. Vincent really sweet. It's sweet, oh. It's sweet, oh. Christmas in St. Vincent really nice. It's nice, oh. It's nice, oh. No other place I'd rather be to celebrate the nativity. Our celebration of Christmas is unique. Go to the novena or party.
Pleasant good night. Keeping it real right here on Nice Radio. Tonight I want to look at changing the system of governance in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I am going to look at local government and some other issues that I think that we should attempt to change in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. While I was going through the Local Government Act, and mind you, I'm reading from the old laws of the 1990 laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and this is chapter 257, the Local Government Act. And the new one, well, in 2009, the revised laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines is chapters 339 and 340. I'm looking at the old one because I don't have a copy of the new one, but I was told that it didn't have any changes. But so I'm reading to you from the old one, the revised laws of St. Vincent and the Grenadines in 1990. But we know that the laws were revised again in 2009. So the Act first came into being in 1951, Act 17 of 1951. Then it was amended by Act 38 of 1954. Then Act 6 of 1955. Then you had the SRNO 16 of 1957. Then Act 18 of 1957 again, then Act 6 of 1958, Act 3 of 1959, Act 10 of 1964, Act 11 of 1964, Act 4 of 1967, the Court Order of 1967, and you have some other act. And the SRNO, the last one, according to this document, was in 1991. So I was looking through this document, these laws, and I'm going to share some ideas. Appointment and duties of local government officers. For the purpose of this act, the Governor General may appoint an officer to be known as the local government officer to whom shall be entrusted the responsibility of local authorities under this act, and who shall be invested with the powers, duties, and function hereinafter mentioned. The local government officer shall superintend all urban and village district in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and exercise general powers of supervision and inspection over several local authorities constituted by this act. Advise the Governor General in connection with all matters relating to local authorities. Advise and assist the local government in the performance of their duties under this act. Perform such other duties as the Governor General may either generally or specifically directed. So that is the broad. And it went on for the purpose of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with exclusion of the two tongues. Kingston may be divided into districts, which shall be subject to the jurisdiction of the local government to be called respectively area board, town board, district council, and village council, with the power conferred by this act. The towns of Georgetown, Calico, Layou, Barley, Chateaubelair, and the islands of Bequia shall be district, and there shall be in and for each of the saying district a body corporate to be called respectively the Georgetown Town Board, the Calico Town Board, the Layou Town Board, the Barley Town Board, the Chateaubelair Town Board, and the Barley District Council, which board and council shall be local authorities for the government of the said town and island. So it went on, and I'm just going to give you this other part. I'm not reading the whole act. So I'm reading section 10 now. The member of the local government may be either wholly elected in accordance with the provision for election contained in the act, or partly elected and partly nominated by the Governor General. So in 2003, I could remember attending a conference in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, local government in small island states, experience and options. And this was organized by the Unit for the Promotion of Democracy and General, the OAS. And in this conference, they focused on a few areas: the legal and institutional framework of local government in the Caribbean, and decentralization structures as tools of development and integration, policy implications, decentralization and local government strategies for actions, view of local government and civil society, community participation, some best practices, and experience in local government and local government reform. So this meeting was held in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, April 14th and 15th, 2003. You know, also around that time also, we launched what we call the Constitutional Review Commission. But when Dr. Gonzalez addressed the issue of local government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, he had some things to say. And this is it. And I'm going to start my discussion from around. Today, marks an important historical milestone in the journey towards the reform of local government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Today signify the formal launching of the Local Government Reform Commission, for which His Excellency the Governor General issue appropriate instrument of appointment on April 10th, April 20th, 2004. So after they had this regional meeting to deal with the issue of local government in the region, because if you look on this document, Grenada, Tobago, and another number of to deal with local government in the region. I know I listen to Trinidad and Tobago, and in their local government elections, yes, they have elections for local government. And I am of the opinion that what we have in St. Basin for local government should be revamped, and we should have real local government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have, let me give you an example. Somebody have to go register a birth, and that person live in, like we say, Fancy or Oria. And that person have to come to Kingston to register that birth. And mind you, one person at the registry dealing with both birth and death. And you could imagine, boy, if you go to register a birth or death, how long you will have to wait. And take into consideration you coming all the way from Oria or from Shatterbilly and have to come to Kingston to register that birth. I think in modern time, that should change. And we should have proper system in place where persons can at least travel at a shorter distance to have the birth or death being registered. But we don't have that system in place now, so you have to travel to Kingston. Why? We gained independence over 40 something years ago. We gained adult suffrage since 51. We were self-governing from 69. And yet we can't put these small things in place. We cannot put these small things in place. When you listen to other countries, when they have in their local government elections, you have persons from the community who vie for the position to represent a district. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, I don't know how it happen, how persons are nominated or elected, for how long. I see in the law exactly how they're supposed to function and the duration. But I don't know in St. Vincent and the Grenadines whether we follow what is on the books.
Abraham.
So here is it, you Poyer living in Belmont, Calder area. You
Abraham.
have a death of your loved one. You have to register the death in Kingston. And you have to wait there for a long time if you meet people. Because everything had to be written in a big book, so you wait for a very long time. And then after you go register that death, they'll give you the necessary papers. One to get the death certificate, and the other one which you give to the pastor, and one you carry to Tongboat or the Tongboat or the Calico area. So here is it. You have to, again, leave from Mespo, Belmont, around that area, and go to Calico to pay to get that receipt to give the person who's going to deal with the hole for the burial. All of that, in my opinion, could and should be avoided. And you should have a better and more efficient system in place. Here is it. I know Poya living in Belmont. And let us see, everything should be done, whether at the Calico or somewhere in Mespo, everything should be done one place. So we have, Poya talked about technology earlier on. We have a lot of technological advancement. So why is it we can put a smart app on the government computers and everything be done one place? Instead, you have all of these running around, unnecessary running around, that is. You mentioned also amazing in terms of changing the system of governance. On every board, there should be representative from government, representative from opposition, and those civil society organization that remains. You should have representative almost equally distributed on all of the boards and not central government placed in individuals on those boards. But you should have equal representation from government, opposition, and civil society represent on those boards. You're talking about efficiency. You talk about transparency and a number of other fancy terminology we love to use. So in 2004, April 20th, we appointed a local government commission to deal with the issue of local government in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And upfront, we stated clearly to the local government commission that they shouldn't entertain the idea of direct elections because we want to handpick persons, and persons in other quarters suggested that we don't want to have politics in the local government election. So what? It's politics. It shouldn't be partisan politics and it shouldn't be divisive, but persons should campaign and indicate why I should put them to represent me on the local government authority, the board. Why I should put them, what are they going to do? So you should have election and they should be voted on to the board. And there should be a system of recall if they no longer represent the interests of the district or the community. Then you should have some system where you should be able to recall those individuals. Because what you have is that I don't know what system we have in place now, how those individuals are selected to be there, and what are the roles and the functions, and who actually they represent. And we cannot continue the next 20 years, next 10 years, next 5 years in this particular direction because we are not moving forward as a society. I listen to American politics from time to time, and you listen on the committees, where they have the judicial committee, whatever committee you have. They're representative from the Republican and the Democrat. What you have, from what I understand, is that when the Republican control the House, then they have the chair on all the committees. When the Democrat, vice versa. That is the system they have. But we can, in our small society, incorporate independent individual or civil society, the remainder of civil society that we have, to be on those boards, to give a different viewpoint from the partisan politics or the political party. And I'll tell you for you why. During burial, a lot of persons' houses or roofs were destroyed. And a lady came to me, Poya, who lost part of her roof. And she indicated clearly, Abraham, I'm not going by them because they know who I support, and I'm not going to get anything, so I'm going to waste my time. That should not even cross the individual mind in the first place. But that is the reality of what we have to live with in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And that is real. So I told the individual, I know persons who work there and give me, and I will carry it in. I did that, and I was told that it was processed and all sort of things. And up to today, Poya, not even a nail. And some other experiences I have with persons, with when you go there, they asking you, who is your representative? And it doesn't mean the NDP representative. When they say representative for those constituencies that doesn't have the ULP representative, they're talking about the caretaker. So you have to go to the caretaker. And the caretaker have to basically vow that he knows you or that you support him or her. Those nonsense must stop. And we cannot continue to develop a society like that. Because we'll continue down the line and we'll end up nowhere. Because let us say a next party get in power, they may want to do the same thing. And how can we say, as an independent nation, we have progressed? And it saddened me, Poya, because I know when I was in youth work, we work along closely with community development and the youth department, even if we had our battles, because from time to time, especially with the youth department, but we work along closely with the community development, whether it was Rosita Snag, or is his name again, Andrew Simmons, Roger Young, and if I forget any name, forgive me. But we walk along with those people. And then the field officers, we walk along with them. And in those days, we had no coloration. Once you were in need, we did a community mapping, and we could identify all the plumbers, the masons, the carpenters, and you name them in the area. So when we had a problem, we could have turned to those individuals with the expertise and assist the individuals in the communities. And I continue. During burial, a number of persons had to go to Nemo, and I saw some of them at the Salvation Army, but they had to go to Nemo and register Poya to get your package. And it saddened me to state that some of those individuals who register at NEMO sometimes had to go all the way to Camlin Park, Poya, to get their package. I remember I met this individual in town, and after that person non collected their package, they had no money to go to the place of abode. And when he asked the driver for omnibus if he can give him a ride until he gets some money, the driver turned to him, "Boy, I can't do that right now. Thing rough. Thing rough. He does help out a lot of people and nobody don't help him, so he can't do that." And I sorry for the guy and I assisted him. In our day, when I say our day, in days gone by, what we used to do, what the Red Cross, NEMO at the time, I don't think it was NEMO at the time, but it was disaster preparedness under, what's your name, Yvonne Patterson and, what's your name, Alwyn Cupid. Those two I could remember. If anybody else, forgive me, but those two I could remember in disaster preparedness. And we would have organized all the names and have pickups and take them to the respective areas. We call them. That time we didn't have cell phone was not as popular as now, but some people had could afford cell phone at the time. And what you call it again, the beepers. It's beeper you call them, yes. And we communicate with those individuals and we deliver the stuff to those individuals in the respective villages and communities. But you have to stand up. I saw earlier up where there was at some of them were at, what you call it again, the old intermediate high school. I mean, we can do better. That some persons whose house were destroyed up to today receive nothing. Some of them put back their old galvanized. I am saying that is an government obligated to give you anything. I'm not saying that, but if you're going to give, you should give everybody that is deserving of it. If there's money from other taxpayers to give to persons who are affected, then everybody who are affected should be the recipient of those taxpayers' money, because the politicians are not taking it from their pocket and making a donation, but it's some hard taxpayers' money from other countries. And sometimes your own taxpayer money. So we can do a lot better than this in terms of changing our system that we have. Because it was not always like this, as I indicated to you. Because working along with disaster preparedness, it was never like this. We never asked any individual to go, we never asked any individual to go to community development, to go to the representative or the caretakers. Never did. I remember when we were responsible for Kingston Disaster Preparedness Committee, that is East, West, and Central Kingston. And when anything happened, the community development rely on us also to work along with their field officers to assist. So how, within a short space of time, we have become like this? That is troubling to me. But we promise that we're going for better governance. I mean, let's read the other part of it. Paragraph 2. This nation, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, which is a valued component of our Caribbean civilization has been acknowledged regionally and internationally as being in the forefront of the practitioner of political democracy. This democratic practice is not evident, merely every 5 years at general elections. It is the day-to-day lived experience for all our people. Several international organizations and respected governments have applauded St. Vincent and the Grenadines for its democratic precepts and practices. This has been especially so since the Unity Labour Party administration came to office after the general election of March 29, 2001. So you heard what I give you in terms of what used to happen. Tell me whether or not those practices still exist today and whether or not it's better or worse. And for all of you who are living here and would have experienced when you go to those departments of government, what happens? I don't understand. I remember earlier, Poya, you go to a government department to get grant, funeral grant. I went with an individual some time ago, and some of the questions that they asked, in my opinion, is useless. Waste of time. I don't see the purpose of it. Okay, the individual I'm speaking of were recipient of public assistance. So by virtue of that, the government assist with the grant for funeral. Then you have to answer certain questions like how much persons live in your house? Poya? How much persons living in the house? What type of house you living in, wall or board? How much money you spend on light bill? How much you spend on water bill? How much you spend on groceries? Right, Poya? That is for grant for a deceased. You asking those questions. I mean, I don't see the relevance of the questions because the person already deceased, they're going to grant it. I don't see the relevance of the I don't want to give out too much information in terms of identifying the particular scenario. But those things are, in my opinion, a waste of time. A waste of time. Then here what, Poya? You want a piece of legislation because you're interested in debating something, and then you have to go at the registry, the treasury, shall we? Pay and then go to Camlin Park at the Punchy to collect. And I think all of the law should be placed online or on government website or some way. You should place them there so that we'll have a more educated society. You talk about education, you place them there, but I think what they're trying to do is keep us in ignorance. I remember, I can't remember his name, so forgive me. That is the name I could remember. Oh, Etienne. We used to call him Etienne. He used to be at the back of National Bank where he had it thing and you could have pay at the treasury and go across there and get a copy. So you didn't have to go all the way to Camlin Park to buy a piece of legislation. So all of those things, you have laws should be published online. And I amazed, boy, you listen to the American media, and I listen to some podcast and some other posts who do live TikTok and things like that. and they have copies of the laws, every law that is passed, and they could able to debate or discuss that. But we put a price tag to it, maybe $13, maybe $15, you name it, because we try to keep our citizens in ignorance. And so I think we could change that also. So you have a law assented to by the Governor General. We're living in a technological world. You placed it. Somebody called today and asked where they could find a copy of the Country and Tongue Planning Act because they have something to do, so they want to know where. Maybe you can go to the library. You get the laws, the law library or the National Library, right? So should those things be on a website where you can go and just download it and read, where you have to waste time to go at the law library or the National Library, go through the books, because you may not know the volume, boy, so you had to take a volume first. Well, in the early days, in the 1991, it used to be, we call it alphabetically listed, but now we're listed according to the thing. On the local government, this, black constitutional law, this. So it's a kind of more difficult for persons who are not au fait to find it. So you have to do that. I mean, you could just publish those things online. I could go on the government website and they're talking about some piece of law or legislation that the House passed. I could go and pull it down and get it and understand. Discuss it, read it, have anything to do it. But that don't happen. Sometimes, based on the piece of legislation, what they will do, they will publish it in the newspaper. Sometimes, some of them, but not very often. But proposals who are inquisitive or who interested in legal issues and may just want to know what the law says in terms of the application, those things should be make easier for the average citizen. Then, for good governance, we're talking about freedom of information. We had a law that we passed in 2003, Freedom of Information Bill. And after that law, went through all the stages, assented to by the Governor General, gazetted, because I have the gazette, gazetted, only to be told that it's in conflict with the financial and store rules, so it can't be enforced. That's 2003, you know. Now we're in 2024. And that law had not seen the light of day in terms of the enforcement, the application of that law. So I cannot walk into, let us say, NIS and ask them what they may give me, but I'm just using that for example, and give me some copy of some information I may need. For instance, we were looking one time to see the amount of persons who deceased in a particular year in comparison to what used to happen yesterday. And those information, like a secret, like you cannot get those information readily. How that will make any sense in a modern society. That you're trying to get some stats and it's almost impossible for you to get those stats. How that will make any sense to us in a society, a society that we vouch that they are going to be better than the generation before in terms of academic, but we can't access those information. We can't access those data. We can't. Very impossible. I asked somebody who work who do search at the registry to get those information. And it's impossible. We waited now for a long time to get those information for you. Even if you're going to pay somebody who a search clerk to get those information, you can't get those information. Why? Are they top secret? In terms of the debt, that don't make any logical sense to me. So we need to do better. I remember once, I don't know if it's in 2003 or 2005, there was a crime symposium in St. Vincent and the Grenadines when Vincent Beach, he wasn't Sir Vincent Beach as yet, was the Minister of National Security. And we were trying to gather some information to give the export that were coming in from Tobago. And we went to the police station and they readily give us the information. Well, let me take back that. They readily give us some information. And I tell you this without any fear of contradiction, that were not accurate. Because when the individual came in from Trinidad and Tobago, because we were working along with him from the National Youth Council, he had some totally different data than our own. So he asked where we got our own from. We say, well, apparently from the same source, because we went to the police, we requested it, and they give us that information. But when we're comparing both documents, it was far different. I don't know what is the top secret, what is that? If you get the data, it's better for all of us in dealing with the situation. I know we like to cover up things in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but it's better for all of us if we be honest with ourselves. If we're honest with ourselves, so we can deal with that. The issue of crime, boy. We heard Dr. Gonzalez indicated that in a regional meeting, don't listen to the opposition on crime. They're not serious in helping with crime, and I'm paraphrasing. They're not serious on crime, and everybody in the meeting laugh like some idiot. I want to know which individual in the world, let it forget about opposition government, individual in the world is not interested in having a peaceful community, a crime-free village or community. Tell me which individual. So to indicate that, it showed me that something is not really clicking in our people's mind. Because it was a regional meeting and here they laughing like if they're damn stupid. So you want to know exactly if we are serious bunch of people in the region. And I know I watch any time. So let me deal with the last issue because I could go on all night, but let me deal with the last one for you. So let us see. Okay, so the Bar Association. You know, a lot of people get themselves into trouble and they require a lawyer from time to time for various reasons. And I'm saying too that if the laws were there, because the law is a matter of interpretation, you may be right or you may be wrong, because you have two lawyers on opposing side and they have different interpretations of the law, and the judge rule in a particular way for one or the other, and then they don't believe that the judge or the magistrate ruling were in accordance with the law, and they appeal the decision. Upon appeal, the appeal judges may overturn or uphold the ruling from. But I'm just saying that to say that it's a matter of interpretation and we all may have different interpretations. So place the law there that persons can have access. So here what now, boy? And this is the document I received in terms of the minimum fee that a lawyer can charge for different things. And I wonder sometimes too whether or not we should, I mean, we follow in other societies, but shouldn't we adopt in terms of our local experiences and in terms of our economy? Because sometimes I don't know if we doing it deliberately to affect persons' livelihood or not wanting them to own properties. So let me just go through a few and then I will open the line. So consultation. So this is the suggested minimum rate, and lawyers will sit to you without any fear of contradiction that is recommended and that is not binding, and nobody could tell them to charge, and they don't have to accept that. And that is just suggested. I know a few lawyers told me that when I recommend client to them. So, but this is what it's saying. For junior lawyer, under 5 years, you should charge $50 per hour. Tell me which law chamber in town will charge you that. And Queen Counsel, $175. I remember when I was there with my good friend, my late friend, Pierre Campbell, when some of them were charging 150, he was charging at the time $60. And he was Queen Counsel, and he could have charged up to $400 an hour or part thereof, according to what I was told. But now let me just go with the property part, because that's the one that disturbed me most. Okay. And yes, I know. Hey, what? Let me just say this first. I know you will tell me that they are professionals and they have to be paid. So are the carpenters, so are the plumbers, so are the electricians, the tailors, and you name it. They are professionals also. But you bid them down and you want to see all sort of foolishness. Okay, so do affidavit or simple decoration for you. So you may want $400 for the simple one, and the complicated one, the suggested price that is $600. Let me just give you other one. The correction on a certificate, correction. Let us say for some reason, and it happened to a lot of persons when they try to change over. You may have A missing from your name, or A need to be added to your name. $250. More than one letters, $350. And that is only the suggested price. They don't have to listen to you or agree with what the Bar Association said to you. So let us go now. Debt collection. You have a lawyer and I owing you, and you want the lawyer to collect the monies on your behalf. 50,000 and more, you have to give that lawyer 15% on the first $50,000. On the first 50,000, and 10% on each additional dollar thereafter. Right? Let us go on. So I think some of these things need to change. Okay, a deed poll. You may want to change your surname. You add your father's surname for some other reason, or your mother's surname, whatever reason. $750. That is suggested price. Right? That is the suggested price. I want to go to the land issue. And I think also, I mean, let me state it clear while I look. For you sold a property, right? Government want 5%. The buyer and the seller have to pay 5% every time. Why that have to be? Why every time a person you may put, yes, you have to pay 5%. Let us go with this water because a lot of persons die intestate because they may not, and some of them who leave a will. So let us see the letter of administration, right? Up to $15,000 present the value. You have to give 1,500, 1,500. Over 15,000 to 100,000, 1,500 plus 5%. You want to leave a will. Sorry to say that, a simple will. But now you don't have to register the will. But a simple will, $400. Moderate, whatever that means, $750. And a complicated one, $1,500. And that is just the suggested price. So the lawyers could charge far more. Let us say now, I have a property and I want to give you power of attorney. I give you the right, hand over the right to you for some other reasons. I may be old, I may be traveling, and I want you to act on my behalf to do a special power of attorney. To say I only give employer the right to take up the money, blah, 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 change it, but you don't have money, a right to my bank account or the thing, $1,000. The general power of attorney, $600. So we have, why? You could have a simple form, let the individuals fill out the form, and then if you have to get a justice of the peace to witness it, to make things a lot easier on people, than all these things. Don't talk about their parents in court for you. Their parents in court, right? They may need to adjust this because this is not what happened. But I will continue on this because I know person may want to add their 2 cents to our discussion. But let me just read these few mails that were coming in first. Okay, all right. I know it's your thing, so just give me a second, please. I'll let you in. I'll let you in just now. Just give me a second. Let me just read this. I know. Okay. When election is in the air, it is all kind of talking. You just hear. She said 6 in a row, the NDP walking on a tightrope. She want me to know an extra $100 going in the envelope. Some positive people tell me that could be a real good vibes. So they're planning to take the money, but them ain't taking no bribe. Many things should be avoided, Mr. Ibrahim. A man should not have to be sent to so many stations or windows to get something done. You can stay whole day at custom trying to play ball. Yes, that is true. Whole day to play a simple barrel. Mr. Poy, I honestly don't see how Australia or any other place will be able to stop minors from accessing those sites when you create an account for those sites. They ask you for the date of birth. The young people just put in any date that will be acceptable so they can gain access. For that to work, to some degree, it will need parents and guardians to be able, the parental setting to block such access. Then you have these tech-savvy children who know how to get around them. So let me just see if I could get a little thing here and come back.
The Christmas sweet, the Christmas sweet, the lighting houses, lighting streets, friends and family meet and greet. The Christmas sweet, the Christmas sweet, the Christmas sweet, the Christmas sweet. We going 9 mornings without sleep, early morning concerts in the street. The Christmas sweet, sweet, the Christmas really sweet. The Christmas sweet, sweet, Christmas sweet. The Christmas sweet, sweet, the Christmas really sweet. The Christmas sweet, sweet, Christmas sweet. Yeppa! This when? How the line boy?
Well, welcome back. You're listening to Keeping It Real. If you want to be a part of our discussion, the lines are now open and you are free to join us. And we're still accepting your emails and your WhatsApp. Okay, I think we have our first call. Wait. I think we have our first. Let me just hold a while. Pleasant good night. Okay, I think we lost that. Poya? Yeah, I think we lost. Yes, so you're listening to Keeping It Real right here on Nice Radio. So you're free. Dave, I saw your name. You can call back now if you so desire. Okay.
Hey, Abraham.
Okay, good night. Good night. How are you doing?
Abraham, you all right?
Yes, good night.
Okay, nice.
Yes, yes.
I hear. I was trying to get in earlier because I don't know if I would be able to get in at this time because I have some things to do.
Okay, okay.
I just want to cement some things that you touched on, especially particularly one about the slowness in which we are moving to do things and make life easier. And you are speaking on the issue of registering of birth,
yes, yes.
and all of these things, passport and so forth. Okay, you have post office in every district, right?
Well, I know most of them were closed down.
Okay.
Yes.
So we need to look at either reopening them or setting up. Even if you don't have local government, you need to use public space to do all these things without going through all this hassle that people have to go through.
Correct.
Take, for instance, I'm in Florida right now. If you want to apply for a passport, you don't have to go to a specific passport office. You can go to post offices. You can make appointments. Some of them are walk-in.
Okay.
You can make appointments, some are walk-in. So not every one of them you make appointments. Some, because of, I guess, the traffic, they make appointments, okay? Some you can go in universities because, you have a lot of students around the place and so forth. And so there are little offices that offer services for those same reasons. Whether you're registering something that you need to register, you can have those same offices offer notary services.
Okay.
So you could notarize something in those. So they are authorized by the government to do this. So you go and all these things are set up online. And if they tell me that it can't be done, it's because they are fooling people. How does the National Lottery operate?
Boy, I don't deal with it, I don't know.
Well, I'll explain to you.
Okay.
There is a platform
Mm-hmm.
on the internet for the National Lottery. When a terminal sells a ticket in the National Lottery, it is registered on the server for the
Okay.
National Lottery. That's why when they tell you the system breakdown,
Mm-hmm.
it's not that they can't sell a ticket. They can't sell a ticket because that ticket automatically has to be registered as a ticket sold from which terminal it is sold.
Okay.
So it's the same system that you're going to use. So you have the registry.
Mm-hmm.
The registry has a server that you set up in the registry.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have, say, a post office in a particular area,
Mm-hmm.
you can set up a terminal there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to start setting up those things for doing, for notarizing, just like how you have when you're registering for the voting,
Yes.
for your cards,
Mm-hmm.
and you go to, how come we set up
Yes, yes.
registration places?
Officer, differently, yes.
How come we do that?
Hmm.
How come we do that?
Mm-hmm.
The electoral office has a platform that you go,
Yes.
and it is registered in the platform of the
Electoral office.
electoral office.
Mm-hmm.
So why can't the same thing be done for the Treasury and done for passports? You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes, yes, yes.
So somebody in the Grenadines don't have to come up. They go to an office where there's a police station. You could use you have police station in every place, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the police station, and you can set up an office there. So there are terminals where you have maybe 2 or 3 persons employed, one dealing with passport, or the same set of persons. Some deal with registration of births. Some deal with notarizing things and so forth. It is not complicated, Abraham.
Correct.
I believe that they just love to make people's lives miserable. Because find whatever solution is good for St. Vincent. Up in this country here, you have a lot of post offices all over the place. So the government use post offices for doing passports, for registering, all these things. You just go, you fill out the form, you deliver it to them. Those who don't, some of them you mail in. You can mail in or you can go. You could go online and fill out all your information. It is registered already. So if I go online, you understand? If I go online and I say, okay, I want to fill out my passport online, once I go to that website, state gov, whatever, passport thing and so forth, it is registered already that I fill out a form. You understand where I'm coming from? So the formality that I have to do now is either I mail it in, or I could go to a post office and hand the printout version of that to them to authenticate that it was I who did it.
Yes.
If they receive the mail, when they vote, it is the mail-in ballots from ballots, right?
No.
So I mean, up here, I'm just showing you.
Correct.
Right? So they use the same system. You mail in your passport. But what you do is that you could choose to go to a terminal and do it. You could do it from your home, fill it out online. You verify who you are. You have to upload a photo ID of yourself and all those things. When you fill out something for the American Embassy, a visa form, and you upload it online,
correct.
It's the same principle. So the registry in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the passport office, and the
license department,
license department, all these things can be done online. Up here, I don't pay my vehicle license if I choose to go to the DMV, I could do that. But I just go online, put my information in. I pay for it online. They post the sticker for the number plate online. If I all these things are done like that. Insurance is everything. So I'm saying we have people. We are a multi-island state, and we also have very difficult areas to get to. Sandy Bay, North Leeward, and so forth. What you want people to come to town to use the police station? Use the police station then. You have several police stations. You have police station in every district, in it. So use the police station then. But put this stuff up online and let people go online, fill out all the forms, and don't tell me it's difficult, because you take the National Lottery as an example. That's why I use it. But you see, National Lottery makes a lot of money. So it has to be done. You understand where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So why, if I could go and buy a lottery ticket and it's registered back in the lottery's office, why can't I go and apply for a passport or a birth certificate or a marriage certificate? This government has complicated the issue of having a birth certificate, collecting a birth certificate.
Yeah, correct.
What a mess. What a mess. That is the biggest nonsense that I've ever seen. And I listen to the Prime Minister talk some fat in the House of Parliament. There's the only adjective I could describe it of. Talk about, people fraud. There are ways and means of dealing with fraud if you even filling out something online. How would I get a birth certificate if I don't know the person? That's
and
why
all the information you have to put in.
Exactly.
Date of birth.
Exactly. And then you also have to have then the notary public who will sign to say that I am this person.
Yes.
Somebody living in America wants a birth certificate. All they need to do is to send a notarized letter giving permission to Abraham to go and collect a birth certificate. Why do you have to get somebody else from home who know this person, if it ain't your sister or your brother or your... It's nonsense. It's a total pack of nonsense. Because, getting these documents, once they are registered on the system, it's easy. You can have security questions if you want to put them there. Because if I apply, there are security questions. They'd ask you, what is it? What is it? So if, take for instance, if I am sending a birth certificate, say I want Abraham to go and get a birth certificate for me. When I fill out those things, the application for the birth certificate online, right? They'll ask you a security question. No, I will give Abraham that security answer. How you will know that if it would genuinely ask you, authentically ask you to pick it up for me or to get it for me? You can put those security measures in place.
But Dougie, what are you going to do with your birth paper?
Exactly. Because you can fill out all these things online. If somebody living in America, you can do mail out. They could go online, fill out the birth certificate, right? Request, pay the money online with a debit or credit card, and pay the postage one time. And you could send it straight to the person. Or when you fill it out online, you would say, I am asking you to deliver this birth certificate to Joel Abraham. This is Joel Abraham's number. This is Joel Abraham's ID number. This is Joel Abraham's driver's license. Yes. So we are really, really spinning top and mount and behind time. But you see, again, everything is designed to create confusion because there's that level of corruption there's a level of corruption that a lot of persons don't even understand why. And you come back to the other thing about, remember what you spoke about, where you have caretakers and
power of attorney.
Yeah. It's no, I was speaking about caretakers. If you go to get a job or you're
Okay.
Right,
In the constituency caretakers.
right.
Okay.
You have a legitimate, publicly elected official,
Yes.
whether it is opposition or party in power.
Correct.
The people of the country elect a person because remember, it's 15 elections you have in a.
Correct.
You don't vote for a prime minister.
No.
A prime minister is then selected by the party in power and sent to the governor general. Say that we support this person for prime minister.
Correct.
Because legally, if a political party decide, say, look, we're going to use Abraham because he could win the elections as a leader. And the persons, when they all got elected in the different constituencies, say to the governor general,
they want Poya to be the prime minister.
They want Poya to be the prime minister. There's nothing you could do about that.
No.
Nothing. Nothing you could do about that because the law said that you have to have the support of the majority of the persons. So tell me how are you going to reverse that? You know, if somebody really want to shaft you, they can shaft you. If a group of persons want to shaft you, they can shaft you.
Correct.
And you can't get sworn in. You cannot get sworn in.
True.
So all this nonsense that we say. So you have duly elected persons in constituencies. You have duly elected persons in constituencies. Why is it so difficult to authenticate those persons representing that constituency? Even for things of emergency and whatnot, you have to go and beg and beseech and so forth and whatnot. But you have the caretaker who will never see the light of the sun and getting elected, but they are in charge. And look, you have a nonsense going on where you have an attorney general. Is attorney general his name? The guy who's going down there. Yeah. William? Right. Okay. Granville. So how come he's attorney general, but now he's doing all kinds of constituency work.
And the problem is with Dougie with that, he is a public servant attorney general, not a political attorney general.
He's not exactly. He's a public servant. But then again, the hypocrisy of the government and the corruption within the government is that when you look at what happened with Johnson and all the others, where you had a legitimate negotiated collective bargaining agreement signed on by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and then refusing to live up to that and say it was only aspirational. But now that you find yourself in a situation where you want public servants to run in particular constituencies because you have nobody else to run in those constituencies that you believe could bring the bacon home for you. You now come now and make a law. How much is 15 years after?
2003 or 2005, 2003, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is hypocrisy to the highest degree. Hypocrisy. And for all these things, when you see these things happen, these people, I am not speaking on behalf of any particular, I'm speaking generally right now. That anybody who does these things is supposed to be punished at the polls when they go back there, because then you show me that you are a corrupt bunch of people. That you are only doing things that suit you, not for the good of the country. So now we're going to have civil servants can leave and go and run now because the law. They went to the parliament and came there speaking almost pious as if they are saints who just came out of heaven. They're like angels came out of heaven. They're doing such great things for you because why? They want their own people to run. So all of a sudden, no. But and in all of that, no, you're trying to say now, NDP have civil servants who are interested in running. So it's authenticated because of that. All
but
because
they had civil servants interested in running all the time, and they was penalized.
Exactly. Exactly. So I really hope that St. Vincent and the Grenadines can have a real true change of things that need to make life easier for us. One more other thing I'd like to just say quickly before I go, because I have to go and do some things. The whole issue of NIS. Because I think Poya touched NIS, right? Yeah. So I only want to keep it in the topics that you all touch on. Now, and I heard Stephen Joachim also speaking on this matter. I think with Bing. I don't get a chance to listen often. But I did hear him speaking on the issue. Couple things. You have a board that's supposed to represent the people's interests based on the statutes of the NIS, right?
Yes.
But yet, the government behaves, and I heard Stephen said this, and I called him today, but he didn't answer me to tell him I disagreed with what he said, that the government owns NIS. The government does not own NIS. The NIS, the governments are the stewards of NIS because by in fact that they are the governing body, they're supposed to ensure that the governance based on being elected in the political arena to run the country, that the governance of this is within keeping of the statutes. But they behave truly as if they own the NIS.
Exactly.
And they do any and everything with the NIS money, the people's pension. I heard Doug Howard calling this morning and say, nobody get increase, where there's cost of living increase. I have been a pensioner now for 11 years, and I have never got one increment. Cost of living has gone through the roof.
Correct.
This money that I got 11 years ago is the same money that I'm receiving today. How could that be right, Abraham?
No,
but you are taking my $500 and giving it to students whose job is to go to school and learn well. But you're rewarding them because they did well. From my pension money that I work for, and I cannot keep up with the level of inflation. Could that be correct?
Could never.
All because the government itself is a corrupt government. Because if that is not corruption, then something has to be wrong. How you are not looking after the pensioners, but you are finding monies out of the pensioners' contribution. And not when I say pensioners and the corporate community to put something in place for a safe economy. Because remember, all of this is tied to the economy, Remember, it is not far out in left field. It is part of the economic structure of the country, because when you receive your pension money, you spend it back in the supermarkets and the stores and for transportation and you pay your taxes out of it too, because everything that you buy you pay VAT.
Correct.
So it is part of the economic wheel that is turning in the country. But you are not facilitating the pensioners by giving them the inflationary costs due to them, because you're using the money for all other things that you should not be using it for. And then you are malinvesting it. Now, there's nothing wrong with the government building a hotel. I've said this here over here, but borrow the money. But you say, okay, you take it upon yourself and say, I am investing this money into a hotel for you without my permission. Did you have a vote in it from the pensioners in the country? Did you have a referendum? One thing I love about the politics up here, if the government wants something passed, when they go to the election, there's always a referendum in it. Take, for instance, the abortion issue.
Yes. It's on the ballot.
It's on the ballot. So you could have voted for a president, but you could tell that president, if you are elected, you can't do this,
Correct.
because I'm voting against this. But I support you. But you're not doing this and you're not doing that. It's the same thing that we can do if we want to make changes in our country, but we just go in for a simple majority in the parliament, and we destroy people's lives in all of this. We have to rethink what we are doing. We have to do that. If we don't, St. Vincent will go far down the road. That's why our national debt is out of control right now, because there's no brakes on what the government can do. No brakes. No brakes. And we have it. Just want to say last thing though. Tomorrow morning I'm going to Bex Gonzalez. There's a funeral service in Miami. I'm 4 hours away. So I'm going to take a train ride down to go to that, because Bex was a staunch man, a man, a great entrepreneur, man who has achieved much, and a man who contributed a lot without fanfare and things like that. Also, most people don't know we are family too.
Okay.
And I will tell you, his family to me, not through my father. That may sound strange to a lot of people. He's not family to my father. My mother and Beck's father were second cousins.
Okay.
But she's a black woman and he's a Portuguese man. So you understand, St. Vincent is a very mix-up kind of society.
Yeah, correct.
And we also had a very good friendly relationship, They always come up by me, pass up, right his bike, we chat, and we had a good relationship. So I felt so bad. I kept in touch with him in his illness, and I'm going tomorrow to the funeral. And say, the only thing one I regret is that it's getting colder up here, I had to get up early in the morning to get the cold, and I hate cold. And I'll see you in December.
All right.
I should have been on Wednesday, but I had to stay back, and I'm glad I had to stay back for that. Okay.
All right.
So have a good night, man. And have a good program. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Okay.
Pleasant good night.
Yeah, good night. Good night, Paul. So I'm getting that feedback very strong.
Go ahead. We're hearing the feedback here. Go ahead.
Yeah. So first of all, let me say I was happy with how you opened your program tonight, dealing with certain issues here, especially when it speak about the legal profession. And you remember your good friend there, the late P.R. Campbell. And in spite of what people had to say about P.R. Campbell, he had a feeling for the poor class. When he could have only charged $60, he said.
Correct. Sometimes he didn't use to charge too. Sometimes he used to allow it to go.
Anyhow, I knew PR. He taught me, and we always had a close relationship ever since from the days of grammar school. Yeah. So really and truly, I could see why some of our people are so attracted to the legal profession. Maybe it's a profession that can get you rich quickly if you have no conscience. Or some of them, their lifestyle calls for big money. As fast as you can get it, as quick as you can get it, and so on. But I also, as you mentioned, as you talk about the legal profession, I remember the days of PR Nicole Sylvester, who, in my opinion, really was as far as masters attorneys are concerned, she was she stands out, or she stood out in terms of the programs, certain programs that she used to encourage and so on. And when she was president of the Bar Association, especially, she did a lot of work where that was concerned. And before I also remember when PR held an international, what do you call that, where a lot of people were exposed to a lot of books and so on. There was like a up at courthouse there. I was there and all of that. It was an eye opener for me too, and so on. So all I can say, I mean, that was very important for those of us who wanted to know what goes on in the legal profession and so on. But apart from that, you said something about the enforcement of certain laws. There's a problem we all have in the country. Even with police doing what they're supposed to do and so on, or not enforcing certain laws, and maybe because you're a small country and everybody's related, and that sort of thing, you can't one, you I mean, I'm not saying this to diminish what should be done, but because it's law. We need a country of laws. We need a country of laws and not of flaws, or not. I mean, while we have a country of laws, there's still too much flaws in the way those who are responsible execute, their work and that sort of thing. And you know what? I am listening as the Prime Minister has to come into focus here. Because I don't think it seems as though nobody can stop the Prime Minister from doing anything here, and people just sit back. Those who are expected, or those who people look up to make certain pronouncement, where the Prime Minister does his thing and so on. It clearly shows that he would like to talk about transformational government and all of that. How do you describe the Prime Minister where his ideology is concerned? Is he really democratic in the sense of our democracy, where our democracy is concerned? Maybe that's a question you may not want to answer. But clearly, the way he functions and gets his own way, I question our democracy right now. Really question our democracy. Our democracy needs to be really examined or re-examined where certain democratic rights are concerned in our country. I have a problem with that. But how many of us, like recently, I am saying, I've been calling for more critical thinkers who can make a difference Because if you're a critical thinker, you would become aware, sensitive, knowledgeable of a lot of what goes on in this country. For too long, and you know, some of the things I'm hearing now, it takes us 20, almost 25 years to come to our senses. And I don't know if we have come to our senses as yet, because as far as I'm concerned, the Unity Labour Party administration has outlived its usefulness. That's a very bold statement to make. How much people will agree with what I said, I don't know. But come 2025 next year, that doesn't matter what, months away. As I hear somebody saying, it's less than a year to the next general election, except for if there's any any disaster that you may have to prolong the time or what. But I am hoping, and I can't wait where 2025 is concerned for us to get over with this general elections. And when they shout 6 in a row, I hope while they're shouting 6 in a row, if they get defeated, that will not cause any problem. And especially like what we just saw, or what we saw some time ago in America with Trump and what's not. But I don't want to get into the American politics because their thing is different than ours. But when you're in power too long, you don't want to leave. Especially if you build a dynasty. If only certain people can benefit. So I am just hoping, trusting our Vincentian people after suffering, those of us who really had to suffer for 25 years or nearly 25 years, that we would have learned from all these experiences, and to hear that you're giving out ration to poor people, poverty-stricken people, and as you said, you had to help out. That was commendable of you to help out this guy who went to collect his, what do you call it, a special box. They had a name for it too, and couldn't get home as a result of having to travel so far. And I agree with all. We make life too difficult in this country for our own people. When you notice the speed up, well, you realize how important the tourism sector is, and people have to come out here and get married. You could now get, you don't have to come to Kingston, and I think Newton Island must be the first place where they start to issue license or something, for you to get married and so on. Well, all these things, and you have but before I go, I want to mention, when I am hearing some ad coming from the ULP because they're having a convention on the weekend. And, well, I guess they have the people well trained and to say what they have to say. That the world boss. Well, if he's the world boss, I wish he could stop all the wars going. I hope he could stop what's going on in the Middle East and Ukraine and invading and all this kind of thing. If you're the world boss, you should be out there, man. St. Vincent and Grenadines is too small for you. All right,
Okay, all right. Thank you. Pleasant good night.
Hello, good night.
Good night.
I wonder if the people who talking about 6 in a row, what exactly is it doing to stop 6 in a row? That's the one question. I'm not going to be long tonight, folks. I want to know how many persons in St. Vincent know why there's a place in town called Little Tokyo. I wonder if they know. I might recommend a book for them to read, but I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. I got a recording with a gentleman here saying that he has the least respect for lawyers, notwithstanding the fact that his daughter is a lawyer. I'm listening to a whole bunch of stupidness, like the other morning. I'm listening to a fellow named Chester Connell with a stupid, absolutely stupid asinine puff piece promoting people. Mr. Cupid, give me a call, please. I seem to have misplaced your number. Good night.
All right. Yes, you listening to Keeping It Real right here on Nice Radio. I agree with Dougie Gonsalves should be punished at the polls. He ain't repent even after making a law to accommodate his candidate. Law over morality for Gonsalves. Good night. Good evening, gentlemen. The Prime Minister of Civis and the Grenadines used ignorant and small-minded intention to do things for him. Then just to stay in power, poverty is too high in Civis and the Grenadines. The crime rate is out of control. The ULP regime need to be held accountable for all of the money that they are pocketing and the rest of us in poverty. I am glad that the topic of birth certificate came up now. I am in the US, so is my elderly mother. Now I need to get the birth certificate for her. Can I come home with a notarized letter and collect it for her? Yes. Dougie, you in Florida, you're not feeling the real cool weather. Okay. Yes, you can get a notarized letter indicating that she give you permission to collect it on her behalf, and then you will get it at the registry. You want it is notarized. Yes, boy, you're out a long time.
Well, it's very interesting. We as a plural country, and it's costing the average person so much to get some simple things. And as I mentioned about the technology, which should have advances and make life far easier for us. So you see how it ties in very easily there. And it is obvious that they are keeping the people in ignorance because, once you start analyzing and being analytic in your thoughts and action, they can no longer control you and manipulate you in the way how it is at present. So while they're talking about education revolution, as I mentioned before, we don't really have education revolution. Building structures and don't have the process and in place to go with the structure that you build. It might as well you didn't build anything. And you don't need a structure for marriage to be passed. You just need to have the person with the skill to do the necessary things. Because I could recall going to a trade union session in Miami, and they show you whereby in Africa they were using outdoor classroom under trees and those sort of things to educate the workers and them about their rights. And they were getting far more to them than if they had tried to do it in a structured classroom.
I think it's also time for what Milton Cato agreed with in 79 when we adopted our constitution with the unicameral chambers. I think we need a bicameral chamber. I think we and Sir James continue with the unicameral chambers. I think we need a bicameral chamber in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, because I don't think that we should sit down. Well, we should continue allow bills should go through one sitting, especially important bills to go through one sitting, and we don't have the opportunity to. When we have the opportunity, it's not taken serious. So, and then we need a system of we call for a representative because they don't represent us. Most of them, if not all of them, doesn't represent the constituents. And therefore, you need a system of recall where you can recall those individuals who no longer represent the interest. Because, and then if you have that, then what you will need also is what Major suggested, the constituency development fund,
yeah.
because you can't have recall system. Because I campaign on a platform that I want to put a school in my area. I was elected and I can't do nothing. Even though those who are on the government side campaign on certain things and they can't do it either. So therefore, the system in place where the individual, the representative can be empowered in terms of representing their constituency. But we don't have that in St. Vincent and the Grenadines as we stand. I will give you a joke, I wouldn't call the name. A former politician told me that he had some money in his pocket for a particular thing when he went overseas, and he spoke to a funding agency and they were willing to give him that money to do the particular development in the business of the Grenadines. When he came back home, the leader at the time said, "No, what are you talking about? None of that happening." Right? But he campaigned during that election that he was going to do it. He went out and got funding. And because the leader didn't want it, the constituency was deprived of that. I wouldn't say exactly what, because you may know the individual and don't want to expose the individual. But so those are the problems that we have in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in this small island state. But the next thing, the legal aid. Because I can see a lot of persons are hauled before the court every day. They may not be able to afford a lawyer for a number of reasons. Because I was looking through this.
Look at the fee.
I was looking into this. The criminal, minor, the magistrate court and the criminal division. Minor summary matter, $1,000. More serious matter, $2,000 and $100 per day. $2,000 and $1,000 per day. And they went on with some other thing which it could be up to $5,000. We can develop a system of legal aid. So persons who cannot afford a lawyer to represent him or her, it can be afforded to them. Because it always baffled me that when a person commits a capital offense, he or she is provided with a lawyer right up to Privy Council. But on small matters that you may not be able to pay the lawyer $5,000, $1,000, $750, you may end up behind bars because you cannot afford a lawyer. And the next thing, I mean, the magistrate, I know one magistrate or a former magistrate used to operate as how I believe a magistrate should operate when an individual represents himself. You mightn't have all the legal jargon or the legal explanation on how to do certain things. And I believe the work of the magistrate is to assist those individuals to make a proper presentation and to get justice in the court of law. And the court should not be for conviction only, but it should never be for conviction, but for justice. And so we have a system in place where persons take advantage of the situation because an individual may not know his or her right and what is afforded to him or her. So therefore, we take advantage of those individuals. And Frank, for you, I know you love me and you most of the time, both of us most of the time take on some of the lawyers. A lawyer wrote a letter to an individual, to a next lawyer representing an individual, just to indicate a few things, few lines in it. $1,200. $1,200, a single letter to an individual. I mean, so $1,200 now for you.
I hear you.
Okay, and I repeat. Yes.
But it's have other area that I has to talk about.
Yes.
Now, we have the government system where the workers are pensionable, right? And then you still have the government system where you have persons on contract and they receive part of gratuity based on their contract. So they are compensated. And then you have the government system where you have the pseudo system within, which I'm referring to like the various boards and statutory bodies, right? And you have workers who belongs to these statutory bodies, and they have been working for years. They are equally qualified as those who are pensionable. But some of them, they don't have a collective agreement in place for them because they don't have a union representing them. And they are under the system, and the structure is that they are not entitled to a pension, which I think ought to be put in place is that a pension agreement should be worked out for these workers. Because at the end of the day, when you compare what they are doing with their fellow workers, you are coming out short. And short by large.
Here's the other thing, boy. I know about some situations where persons about 4 years into their retirement and keep getting new contracts all the time. I met this particular individual who told me that he acting in a position, well, but he can't be confirmed because somebody there and they don't want to go home. And every time they run up to a particular office to get an extension, and that post 3 years extension. Every year they go back and they complain and they adding on. And it retarding the system because there's no room for upward mobility and for new person in the service. I mean, how could you do that? I mean, this thing really frustrating because
under this regime, that is how the service has become. They make some area of it statutory just to. I just can't find the language to explain this thing because when I see this thing, I see nothing more than slavery. Yeah.
My friend, there's a reason I just call on Poya. You wouldn't know the reason and I wouldn't tell you the reason. But that is between both of us. So it's not to say I don't want to answer him, but there's a reason I just call on him. I don't expect an answer. I normally continue my conversation. Yes. So that is the problem we have, Poya. A person need to, when they reach retirement, to go home and leave room for upward mobility and new person in the service.
No, that you happen under this system.
No, but it should happen.
It should. Before it used to happen. Right? It only is in the situation if based on what is required. You don't have nobody to fill the post immediately.
So who was under you all the time?
Eh?
Somebody you had to be training, somebody had to be understanding.
Sometimes some people don't train others.
Okay.
I'm telling you. So they hug the whole show, they go and do everything.
Okay.
And then at the end, they find a situation where it become a quagmire. And if they leave, it's going to be a stagnation and a collapse.
I was talking to a guy who told me he going to contest the seat for the constituency for the third party in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, yes. And I was telling him the thing is it with the industries in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I remember when you have those at the industrial site. And I was told, after the concession were up, they pack up and leave. So I told him,
what happened?
That's all. I told him that what should be done, it should be placed in the contract that you train at least 50 intention and certain percentage of intention every year. So therefore, when those individuals gone back to the
Because
respective country, we could have people operating the system because the gloves factory, we could have people operating it if we had put that in the system. But we just allow people to come in here and abuse the system and do what they want. Yes.
Another thing also too, and it's happening is whereby the not allowing workers to be unionized.
That is the problem.
And that is one of the major things that are impacting, especially in the private sector also. They try at all costs to prevent workers from organizing that they could garner the necessary benefit that they ought to get as unionized workers.
That is the problem because
once you get a whim that you start to think, that individual who is trying to push that, they fire him. They find some ways and means to get rid of him.
We don't unite because you have to get a certain percentage. The union boss, he move in and he inform the employer, and then the union is organized. But you see, people don't look out for benefits and for the benefits because some employers don't pay the INS employees, and some of them feel nice that they going home with all the money and not looking
down
the road when they retire, when they can't get nothing and they have to wait on government to give them public assistance.
And then when they sick,
they can't get no benefit. So I mean, they're not thinking long term because when the employer take a percentage of your salary, it's for you. You're saving it because some of us not good and save. We live paycheck to paycheck. So it's a saving, and you get when you reach retirement. Well, you may not live to reach retirement like our thing going now, but you may get it if you live to reach retirement.
And the beauty about it is that a number of these businesses are unionized because they are part of the Chamber of Commerce and that represent them. They bargain with the government and other things for benefit for them.
Okay.
So while they are benefiting, at the same time, their employees are suffering. And they don't understand that because it go all back to as you said. We're not a reading society. And you go and you and I will talk again.
And we can't somebody mediate and not the future. That is why some of those individuals, after they reach retirement, they have to beg for extension because they didn't prepare for the retirement. So that is the problem with us. So
some of us we believe, okay, because we may have a degree and with this sort of thing, and we just done everything, it's all fine and good. But at the end of the day, when all the shine is off and you start weathering, is when you realize how much you missed the train in organizing with your fellow workers to ensure that the necessary benefit that ought to be coming to you in your latter stages of life.
Tell the world boss to show his hand. Let us see if he will die on the cross for us. Tell the world boss to show his hand. Let us see if he deserves to be put on the cross. You're listening to Keeping It Real right here. And I just point, these are the things that we have to look at seriously.
And continue to reach out to the thing. Because under this regime, the labor movement has gone 20 years backward.
The labor movement gone 20 years backward because they choose to go 20 years backward. Don't blame nobody for it. They choose to go 20 years backward. If they stand up as a unit, things wouldn't happen like how it's happening. But they don't want to stand up as a unit because over the last couple of years, let us be real, it's only the teachers union and the public service union have been standing up for the workers.
Yeah.
So if all the unions were radical, as they used to say in those days.
No, but the thing about it, while that may be so, they only control us within, we see that our government workers per se, right? But the vast majority of workers, which are, say, in the public sector, some of them are unionized. Okay?
Yes, okay.
And these unions would go at the banks and so on because they readily see the money. But the lesser ones are left thing because the workers and the various clerks, businesses, as clerks and those sort of things, need to be organized.
No, but what your point is that under this government, I am saying that the unions have chosen to weaken themselves. They make the choice to weaken themselves.
No, the workers, because they are uneducated. Well, yes, the workers are
the union have an obligation to educate their workers, to have training session and all those things with the workers. They used to happen before. They used to have training session and have educational program for the workers. And I know an individual told me when he was the, what do you call him again? I can't remember the name. But he used to do the necessary training. He was representing them. He go into the meeting and all those things.
The shops too,
yeah, correct. But the thing is that they're not serious about representing the worker. Even when they go to the labor department, some of those workers at the labor department doesn't know the labor law. And they tell workers all sorts of stupidness. And you know that because I just have to put a lot of them onto you. Because when they call and I say, no, that is not the law, but that is not my area where I versed in. So therefore, I put them on to for you because, and then somebody, they don't know the law. They don't know the laws and they give people wrong information. And sometimes they suck up to the bosses instead of interpreting the law and give yes. So that is the problem because you know the thing we saw recently where a business house is saying that for the month of December, the employees only can take half an hour lunch. Well, I didn't get all the information to find out if they get them paid for the other half and if they agree to it. But how you will have that? Let me read this last thing, and I don't want to run over time again. It's 27 past. Let me read this last, and then we finish. Abraham, one of the rules in moving towards communism is to keep the people in a position so that they can depend on you. This will put the government in control, but a system like that just doesn't promote growth in the country. The government does not want any intention to make a headway because they will have a voice in the country. The government wants to be the only voice and people can't see these things. Well, I ain't make the headway as maybe you're talking about, but nobody going to stifle me. Boy, we have 2 minutes.
Well, until next week, which would be the 29th, the before the end of the month, because November only had 30 days. Then we into the stretch to the end of the year.
I know most persons these days don't study World AIDS Day. And World AIDS Day is the first. That is the 1st of December.
Which is Sunday.
And
I think that would be the day that they are having the launching off of the 9-1 activities. But
so
until enjoy USA weekend.
Keeping it real right here on Nice Radio until next week. If we have a wonderful weekend.
Keeping it real is an